everybody, Roll the Lines UK, Matt and Ash here. We are just setting up, so just want to say hi to you guys. Happy Victory Monday for all of us. Everything is much better when you are 2-0 in division. Ash, how you doing, mate?
Doing good. Obviously, just sitting with bated breath and Twitter open on my phone, hoping that they'll finally announce it. But knowing our luck with these kind of things, the second we finish this stream is the second they'll announce it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Trade deadline is tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. We will be live, and by we, I mean probably just me. I will be live at about 3:30 Eastern to take you through half an hour before and maybe half an hour to an hour after the deadline, just to see whether anything happens, to speculate on whether there's going to be any late moves in the league. Even if moves happen at the deadline, it might be another half an hour before we hear about them. So just to cover everything off that kind of happens then. And also, it might be a good time to have a look at the first half of the season for the Lions and just take a look back, because we haven't really set aside any sort of time to do a half-season review, so maybe it'll be best then. Bob O'Lan is in the chat for a crop. Debt Fan Man. Debt Fan Man says, I still can't believe it was Coach LaFool's birthday yesterday. What a terrific gift. Asked Jerry Jones. I was about to say, it is incredible luck that we managed to keep doing it to people's birthdays. I wonder if anyone has a birthday as a coach on the Super Bowl day, just to see if we can hope to get them. Go on, Ash. Do it. do it. I knew as soon as I started saying that, you'd have to go and look, because it's who you are.
Yeah, but it's my brain. February 2025.
I can't believe Baron Browning went for a 6.
It's because, as it just said, they signed Jonathan Cooper to an extension over the weekend. That's part of the reason why.
Yeah, I know, but I don't care. Baron Browning was I want to say a first rounder. Maybe it was a second rounder.
Nah, he was lower than that.
Oh, round 3, pick 105 in 2021.
Yeah, because he had the...
I remember I said he was a first-round talent in that draft cycle. That's what I thought of him, and I'm conflating that with what actually happened. But hey. I would have given up a 6 for Baron Browning, and we don't need a linebacker.
Yeah.
Having said that, I tell you what, I think he'd be a good edge rusher.
It'd be a Sam.
Yeah.
It'd be the Sam
we could have done with that.
Yeah, it's kind of like with Josh Uche.
Yeah. Uche's got more production, I guess, historically. But
yeah.
There we go. What up, Doe, to Kurt Steele? Hope you're doing well, my guy. You having a look at birthdays?
Yeah, literally just going through the list. JLI, Shane Steichen. No, closest we've got so far is Gannon, who's the 4th of January.
Arizona could make it, apart from they're in the NFC. So
we've got a new winner for closest, Doug Peterson, 31st of January.
You mean the man that's getting sacked maybe today or tomorrow?
Yeah.
If I can't believe he hasn't been sacked. It shocks me. All right, shall we abandon the search, or are you doing this manually?
Yes.
Oh man,
I'm nearly done though.
Okay.
I'm nearly done though.
All right.
So I'm at Giants, right? New York Giants. Mail's close. Come on, I can do this. Albright is the new leader. February the 17th. 8 days off.
Who is?
Gonna get? Jeff Albright, the Jets head coach, interim head coach.
If the Jets make it to the Super Bowl, that would either be a beautiful moment or a terrible moment as a Lions fan.
Oh. Depends if we get there.
Kurt Steele says, Kurt Steele is 14th of Jan. I hope you become an AFC head coach, sir. I do.
Yeah, there we go. I've gone through all of them. The closest we got is Jeff Albright. I've discovered that Dan Quinn has a bit of an oof of a birthday, but that's by the by.
What, 29th of Feb or something? What, when?
A day in September is all I'm going to say. considering the comments he made as well.
Oh, okay, fair.
Yeah. But anyway, yes, it's the leader is the Jets interim one.
All right. Okay, shall we do this?
Mm.
Okay, here we go. Oh, just to say before we start, any questions? You guys know what to do at the channel. Would love to hear your questions. We're going to get to them at the end. Right, here we go.
Recording in progress.
Welcome to another edition of the ROTL Lions UK podcast, episode 302, Jump Around. My name's Matthew Turner, alongside Ashley Soden. How you doing, man?
Doing great. Excited to have caused another prominent figure in a football franchise to have a look in the mirror as their birthday present, shall we say? Though with Matt, I bet he loves looking in the mirror himself, considering where he ranks in terms of the top attractive NFL head coaches.
Fair, can't argue with it. Despite how vain he may be, the Lions are now 7-1, remain top of the NFC, are 2-0 in the NFC North, and are now, according to DVOA, the Super Bowl favourites. We're looking through the looking glass, everybody. This is new fucking territory, and I'm here for it. We are going to break down the Packers' victory in just a moment. But first, don't forget to join our Discord channel. It's a really cool place to come and chat with Lions fans all the way through the week and beyond into the off season. Link is in the live chat right now, and there's a link in the description of the audio pod as well. So join us, please. College Football Podcast is going to be coming up later on in the week. It was another really interesting load of games this week, including Louisville beating Clemson. You had Tennessee over Kentucky. SMU destroyed Pittsburgh. Indiana, potentially a top 10 team now after beating Michigan State. Georgia finally took care of business against Florida. There was a big win for Oregon, number 1 ranked Oregon now against Michigan. Texas Tech came back from the dead to beat Iowa State. It was a fantastic weekend of college football, so do join Ant and Ryan with that later on. Please don't forget to like this show, sub to the podcast, all that good stuff. You guys know what to do. It really helps us out. And don't forget to check out Ant on Lions Nation Unite as well. Herman Moore's project to bring the best in Lions content creators together. We've got Kurt Steele in the chat, who's another contributor for it. He's fantastic too, so please do go and join them there. We are Twitch affiliated, YouTube monetized, and there's a tip jar down below. If you're enjoying what you listen to, we'd love to get some love that way, but you being here is more than enough. Right, there is no news, so we're getting straight on with this, Ash. 24-14, and I'll just go through some stats very briefly, as we always do. Jared Goff, 18 of 22 for 145 and a touchdown, QBR of 88.9 and a passer rating of 109.3. Rushing the ball, Lions were 124 yards on 32 rushes. That's 3.9 yards per rush, but includes a loss of 12 by Khalif Raymond on a trick play. We'll get to it. We were led by David Montgomery, 17 carries for 73 yards, but Jameer Gibbs was the real star, 11 carries for 65 yards and a touchdown. In the air, led by Amon Russell Brown, 7 of 7 for 56 and a touchdown. On defense, led by Jack Campbell with 13 tackles. Otherwise, no sacks on the day for the Lions, only 1 TFL, that was by Alex Anzalone. 3 passes defended, 2 by Carlton Davis and 1 by Kirby Joseph. 2 quarterback hits, 1 by Lee McNeil and 1 by Alex Anzalone. And a touchdown for Kirby Joseph on a pick 6, the first of his career. It was a good day for kick returners too. Isaiah Williams had 36 yards on 1 return and Khalil Dorsey 30 on another. Jake Bates was perfect once again with a field goal and 3 extra points. And Jack Fox had himself another day. 4 punts, 200 yards, including 1 in the 20 and a long of 60. When called upon, he was magnificent. For the Packers, Jordan Love stayed in it the whole game despite not looking entirely fit. 23 of 39 for 273 and an interception. On the ground, they were very efficient, at least in the first drive or two. Josh Jacobs ended up with 13 carries for 95 yards. Emmanuel Wilson got the late touchdown. He had 4 carries for 28 yards and a touchdown in a 6-yard per carry outing, including 3 rushes for Jordan Love for no yards. So it was even better than that, really. Green Bay receiving was led by Jaden Reed, 5 of 6 for 113. No one else was above 37 yards, however. They had 3 fumbles, all charged on Jordan Love, although they might as well all have been charged on Elton Jenkins. They did recover all 3, but that really was drive killers when it was crucial. They were led on defense in tackles by Quay Walker with 12. They had 1 sack shared by Rashawn Gary and Aaron Mosby. 2 other TFLs by Isaiah McDuffie and Kingsley Enigbare, and 4 quarterback hits, 1 by Keyshawn Nixon, 1 by Colby Wooden, and then the sack shared by the other 2. Otherwise, kick return, Keyshawn Nixon was average. Jaden Reed in the punt returns was borderline poor. Brandon McManus did miss a not even particularly long field goal in tough conditions, and Daniel Wheeler, the punter, was good in bad conditions, but 42 yards per punt versus 50 for Jack Fox. I mean, it can't be understated how good a day Jack Fox had. Looking back, Ash, now at those overall stats, I mean, they massively outgained us in the air and on the ground, but the key stats are kind of underneath. How are you feeling about the game now, having slept on it?
Still the same. This is a game that, the box score says that it wasn't particularly close. Like nearly double the amount of passing yards, 40 more rushing yards. They technically didn't take up a sack. We took 1, that kind of thing. But the key ones were the fumbles, the turnovers, and the efficiency. We were a bit better on 3rd down, 4 of 12. They were 3 of 12. 2 of 2 on 4th down. They were 2 of 3. And for once, a time of possession, even though we didn't really dominate the stats, 31-11 for us, 28-49 for them. We were efficient when we needed to on those sort of critical downs. They weren't. So despite what Elton Jenkins says, the better team won, and the better team that executed better also won.
Yeah, better execution is definitely the order of the day. The Lions were buoyed by 2 touchdown drives where they converted on 4th down, and of course, Love had the pick, and that really is the tail of the tape. I mean, you got Packers fans coming out there saying, if they could only change these 3 or 4 plays in the game, then, maybe they pull out the victory. And, I mean, I don't think it's unfair to say there's probably a shred of truth in that, Ash, and then a massive slice of, but that's not how football works. Bad teams make bad plays in crucial places, and good teams consistently get the better side of it because they're better drilled and, like you said, they execute better. That is the entire game. You can't say if we were playing a different game, we'd win. No, we're playing football. You can't make stupid mistakes like that.
Exactly, yeah. Just if they ever get wound up about it, they just need to go back and listen to one of Brian Kelly's famous speeches at Notre Dame after losing to Florida State, where he says he's in favor of execution. Execution, execution, execution. They can't, you can change 3 or 4 plays. We can go back and change 3 or 4 plays. We can change the ejection. We can change some of the misslips that we had, and we'd still win. We'd change some of the if the world was a wish granting factory, everyone would be happy. But unfortunately, it's not. And for once, the Packers have to suck it up. They even got helped by, as we'll come on to it, the ejection. We'll probably discuss that a bit more in depth, but they even got the refs helping them by getting rid of one of our best players, and they still lost until coming up into the 4th quarter. Our defense was outscoring them. That's not what good teams do.
It is not what good teams do. Right, we're going to do what we always do, which is just to go through the drive-by drive. We're then going to talk about game themes, stock up and stock down, before briefly looking at the rest of the weekend's games. Just to highlight this at the top of the show, we're going to be live tomorrow, and by we, I mean me. We're going to be live as the trade deadline shuts, having a look at anything, if anything happens for the Lions. There are rumours amok that the Lions will be trading for someone. We fear it will be straight after this show ends, but you never know. We'll be live tomorrow to talk about all of that, so that will be really great. Okay, love to see you there. So, first of all, just want to talk about the inactives. Ash, we kind of talked about it in our live yesterday, but of course a lot of people won't be there for that. The Lions were missing on offense running back Sione Vaki, and then offensive lineman Christian Mahogany, who was activated from NFI last week now. Right tackle Colby Sawsall, left tackle Giovanni Manu, and then on defense, Mekhi Wingo was downgraded to out. Josh Pascal was still ill, and Malcolm Rodriguez with his ankle ruled out. I find it interesting actually for Rodrigo that he hasn't been put on IR. The ankle injury didn't look great, and this is now the second game that he's missed. So there must be some confidence that he's still not going to be out for another 4 games.
Yeah, so started with Malcolm, like kind of last, and actually technically Pascal. I think it was said in Friday's presser that Dan believes we'll have them both back tomorrow when they have the first practice. So that's probably why they didn't go on IR, though, with Malcolm, and that maybe he could, because we all saw it with Iffy earlier this year, where it turns out if we put him on IR, it would have helped us a lot in terms of roster construction, because he just sat there for 4 weeks doing cool. But maybe that's just the hope. But yeah, everyone else was kind of to be expected. Like Colby's always, and Manu seemingly just healthy scratches every week. Mahogany just coming off NFI with a mono/glandular fever, depending on what side of the pond you're on. Needs a bit more time to get up to speed. Vaki was an unfortunate miss, considering he was grading out as one of the best special teamers in the league. So having him potentially flatten Jaden Reed on some of those bad punt returns would have been funny. And then Wingo would have been helpful to take advantage of what was a weaker Packers interior line, as we'll get onto in a minute, with their inactives. But at the same time, they're all kind of expected. And aside from Pascal, none of them were really missed.
Yep, I don't disagree with that. Moving on to the Packers side of the ball, they were hit with some really bad ones late. You know, it was rumoured that some of these guys might miss, but all of them except Jordan Love seem to not make it in terms of the starters. The peripheral ones that don't really matter, wide receiver Malik Heath, maybe he would have made the difference against the Lions, he did last year. Offensive lineman Travis Glover and defensive end Brenton Cox Jr. But the 3 which really did matter, Ash, centre Josh Myers, might have been the biggest miss of all, and we'll get into that later on. But cornerback Jair Alexander with a knee and free safety extraordinaire Evan Williams, who's been fantastic this year, all were ruled out. And, you know, we didn't do a huge amount through the air, but Josh Myers, I mean, he may be PFF's worst graded centre, but they need someone who can snap the ball.
Exactly, yeah. Like, I know we kind of made fun of Jenkins with his comments, but the fumbles that are happening in the ruts might have not happened if they had Myers, who is a proper dedicated centre. Like Jenkins, as you were saying yesterday, might have the 5-position versatility that teams like the Lions and the Packers absolutely love, but he's not a great centre. He can operate there, but it's not the best situation. As we saw yesterday, them having Jair and Evan Williams out didn't really do too much. In actuality, like, they held our passing attack in check for the most part, though obviously Nixon having to play a lot inside against Amon-Ra and against Laporta and Khalif, and for some snaps Isaiah Williams and Allen Robinson is a bit of a mismatch for them. So us being able to exploit that was good. And then obviously Williams being out causing that, because it meant Bullard had to go to safety when he's been great for them in the slot. It had created that revolving door of players in their secondary. Didn't really help them in terms of the communication and some of the run fits. But yeah, everyone else, like Malik Heath, would have been funny as a kind of cult thing that's twice now he's done well against us. The other 2, yeah, backups are kind of like what Manu and Source offer us. They're pretty much always healthy scratches. They're just there in case they need them.
All right, let's get on to the drive summaries, shall we? Green Bay won the toss and elected to receive, which I think just as a tactical choice is probably a good idea. You don't want to play from behind against this Lions team, and started in what looked like a good way, getting out to the 39-yard line on return, but unnecessary roughness set them back all the way to the 25, so we pick it up from there. And a great Green Bay drive to start, actually. A 9-yard run up the middle. then a 13-yarder bouncing to the right-hand side for Jacobs. TFL by Aleem, although it was given on the field as a 1-yard gain, despite it being a half-yard to a 1-yard loss. But hey, we move. We did win anyway. 3rd and 3, and a check down to Jacobs for 2. A great tackle by Carlton Davis III and Jack Campbell, forcing a 4th and 1. But the Lions don't see the tight end sneak coming by Tucker Craft. We saw it a lot last year, and they managed to convert this one for the first down. Then a false start on Jacobs sets them back to 1st and 15, and a pass defended by Carlton Davis on Romeo Dobbs makes it 2nd and 15, but then a lovely looping throw to Christian Watson against Carlton Davis III for the first down. Then a massive hole on 2nd and 10 for 10 yards for Jacobs to convert it for a first down. Tackle by Branch on Jacobs for 1, and then Brooks tackle for 3 makes it 3rd and 6 in the red zone. A throw behind Brooks, which really should have been a walking touchdown if Love got it right, but he missed him, led to a 4th and 6. They took the 30-yard field goal to go 3 in front. Really felt like a win with a really good drive getting snuffed out by a Love just flat-out miss. And so Detroit take advantage. A touchback on the kickoff and a run up the middle by Monty for 8, and then another up the middle for 5 to get their first down in the first series. A play-action naked boot to the left-hand side to Amon-Ra for 1. He almost dropped it, but did cling on. 2nd down and 9, and a great double jump cut to the right for 13 yards for Monty. Goff then checks down over the middle to Amon-Ra for 5. A feathered throw to Sam Laporte. I say feathered lightly, it almost slipped out of his hand. For 19 yards, getting into the red zone. A run-off right tackle by Monty for 5. Play-action check down to right for 1 on 3rd and 5. Running out of shotgun again works. Monty for 8 yards makes it 1st and goal from the 9. We go run, and run up the middle for 4th down and goal from the 5. And then we draw Brooks. Brooks? That is not who... Yeah, Carl Brooks?
Carl Brooks, yeah.
Thank you. We draw him on an encroachment. We were, I think, going to go for it anyway, but the fact that he didn't buy that we were just trying to draw him offside on a 4th down was quite funny. I mean, he obliterated Frank Ragnow. It was hilarious. Made it 4th down and goal with a half-distance penalty, so now from the 2.5-yard line. And a goal line fade to Amon-Ra St. Brown against Keyshawn Nixon was a total mismatch for the 2-yard touchdown. The PAT is good, and the Lions lead 7-3. And I'll stop here. Ash... That's almost the entire first quarter in just those 2 drives. Change in score, 7-3. Green Bay had a walking touchdown, which Love just missed. But generally speaking, Jacobs was running really well, had big holes, got, I think, maybe half his total rushing yards in this first drive. Nice conversion to Watson. They were moving the ball efficiently. But... kind of a key 3rd down. Then on 4th and 6, they didn't feel like they could go for it in the red zone, so just settled. And then in contrasting fashion, Monty was running, not unlike Jacobs, some really nice movement. Nice throw to Sam Laporte, little couple of conversions to Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then on 4th down and goal from the 5, instead of settling for the field goal to tie it up, we go for it. It looked a little reckless when it was from the 5, but from the 2.5, I mean, it never looked in doubt. And suddenly, with very, very similar drives, the Lions feel like they've kind of stolen the lead here. And it was a kind of hammer blow for the Packers.
Yeah, it really was. Like, that first drive for the Packers was pretty damn good. Like, as referred to earlier with the miss of Josh Pascal, they were really hitting the outsides, because as much as Mohamed and Levi and Isaiah Thomas and that are replacement level, let's say, like, I love Levi, is better inside than he is outside, in my opinion. They weren't really getting too much in the run game today, yesterday. And you could tell with that first drive, just kept attacking the outside. They're an outside zone team anyway, so that's what they usually do, but they just really went at it. They must have seen some things on tape, especially from the second half of the Seattle game, where that's what they did with Kenneth Walker. And it worked. Like, a couple of those big runs, unfortunately, it was Arnold giving up the edge contain again. Just a matter of discipline. Him trying, but I accept it. It's him trying to make the big play, come in to try and get a tackle for loss, and he just loses the edge contain and they slip around him. It's just something to do with discipline. It's easily teachable. But yeah, then when it came to the money downs, when they needed Love to really do stuff, couldn't do it. The 3rd down, incomplete to Brooks, just behind him, slips through his hands. Then it had, because LaFleur isn't the most aggressive coach. He likes to play the odds in the old traditional sense. Takes the field goal. They're up 3-0. It seems all hunky-dory. We're driving down. Kind of similar kind of drive. Quite a few check downs for short yardage gain. I know this is that Goff had the lowest intended air yards of any QB so far this week, but the biggest completion percentage over expected, so it kind of balances out. And then when it came to the time when we needed conversions, we did it. Like, okay, yeah, the 4th and goal kind of got played on a rookie who's a backup. Well, not a rookie, he's a second-year player. But playing on him, technically still a rookie in a way because he's a backup. He hasn't had many snaps. And we get him with the old traditional trick that they should know a lot about because it's the old Aaron Rodgers special. The amount of times he got free plays or new set downs from doing the sort of fake cadence. And then it was just funny if you see the screenshot of afterwards of Frank just pointing up at him, laughing like, ha, got your ass. And then, yeah, Amon-Ra wasn't the best actual route from him. He even admits it himself. Didn't get the separation he thought he would. But Goff just gets in perfectly where Nixon just has no chance at all. And then we're 7-3 up. It's against that sort of little microcosm of the entire game. We've got a QB who, when we need him to get the yards, he could. And when it came to these big decisions that decided the game, they went soft, they went conservative. We attacked, we were aggressive, and it bear dividends.
It really did bear dividends. And so Green Bay come out for their second drive knowing that they're really in a dogfight already. And they go 3 and out. Jacobs with a massive... Sorry, not 3 and out. 4 and out because the first one was the massive gain. So Jacobs with a massive hole on a duo run. Arnold missing the run fit as we were just discussing. Run for 37 yards. Terrific touchdown-saving tackle by Kirby Joseph. If he doesn't make that, Jacobs could be going to the house. In fact, I think he probably is housing that. So well done for saving that one. And then in the next set, they end up in 3rd and 3 and false start. On 3rd and 8, Love throws to Watson into double coverage. Really well covered by Amik Robertson and Brian Branch. 4th and 8, and they try and draw the lines offside because I think they may be in field goal range if they get those 5 yards back, but they don't draw the lines offside, so take the delay of game, end up punting instead, and it's down at the 9-yard line. So the Lions, up 4, getting the ball to start the second half, now have a big opportunity to push the advantage, but they let it slip. Play action check down to Gibbs for 11, but then a Gibbs run up the middle for 4, behind left tackle 2 on 3rd and 4, Goff sacked by Rashawn Gary. Gary beat Sewell, but Sewell actually just tripped over Zeitler's foot. Zeitler plants it kind of just behind Sewell, and when Sewell steps back, there's nowhere for that left leg to go. In some ways, he kind of fortunate to miss Sewell getting injured there, because the way that goes, or Zeitler getting injured, Sewell could easily roll up on Zeitler's leg. There's lots of stuff that could happen there. Thank God none of that happened. And then, of course, Gary is basically unabated to the quarterback when Sewell goes down. So the Lions, lucky Goff, 1, didn't fumble, and 2, wasn't injured on that play because he hit him with some ferocity. So the Lions have to punt from their own 18, but they get it all the way to the Green Bay 28 to flip the field, and holding sets them back to their own 18. So it ends up being a 64-yard change of possession. But Green Bay then take over, down 4 with a chance to go back in the lead. Nice throw to Josh Jacobs for the first down on the far sideline, gets a chunk. And then a Love wide receiver screen almost picked by Carlton Davis. He sees it all the way and gets there just a smidgen late. Otherwise, he could be housing that. Holding sets him back to 2nd and 20. And then the Love throw to Bo Melton. And Branch hits him in the head. Eventually, after consulting with New York direct the refereeing crew to eject him. For once, although it's a bad refereeing call, I don't think this is on the referees on the field. It very much sounds like it came from New York. Branch is beside himself, very, very angry, and then flips the double bird against the crowd. And so with the unnecessary roughness penalty and the unsportsmanlike conduct, 30 yards in penalties suddenly flips the Packers from about midfield into basically the red zone. They do have a false start though, and after 1st and 15 to Reed for 9, Love throws it away under pressure. Then a throws of Kraft is dropped. They end up taking a 46-yard attempt, which is no good wide left. I'll go all the way to the half and we'll come back to this. So the Lions get great field position after the missed field goal, and then they put the hammer down. Throw over the middle to Amon-Ra St. Brown for 26 yards, and a play action check down out of pressure to Monty for 3. Lucky to get away with no strip sack there, to be honest. Another play action running back screen to Monty for 6 on 3rd and 1. Another play action throw for 2 to Allen Robinson, his first catch for the Lions. A drop back throw over the middle to Patrick for 9. A power run with Monty, with the pile being shoved forward for 8 yards. I mean, it was almost 2 before it was stopped, and then it kept going. And then a run out of I formation power for 3 yards. McDuffie gets a TFL against Monty for 2, which really stymies this entire drive. 3rd down and goal from the 9. And the Packers bring pressure, as they did a lot on 3rd down, which was, I think, unexpected. Goff sees this and just throws it at the feet of David Montgomery, who looks a bit shocked. Was it Montgomery? It was Montgomery, I'm sure. Looks a bit shocked that the ball just ended up at his feet rather than exactly where he wanted it. And the Lions from the 9, instead of going for this one, do take the field goal from 27 yards. This one is good for the Lions, and suddenly it's a 7-point lead, 10-3. Packers are left with 58 seconds to go. First plays a nice throw to Dobbs over the middle for 8. Then Love pressured on a blitz. Alexander Zaloni is about to hit him. He throws in an absolute panic towards Josh Jacobs, but gets the direction wrong. Kirby is there for a 27-yard pick 6. A PAT is good, and the Lions are suddenly up from 7-3, and in a matter of 3 plays, they're up by 14, 17-3. And with half a minute left, the Packers can't do anything except Love puts himself in jeopardy in the very final play of the half, gets hit, and he comes up lame and hobbling around awfully. That's the half, and the Lions are up 17-3. And Ash, so much happened in that second quarter. I mean, both teams went 4 and out, and then they missed a field goal. We have the branch ejection. We have the Lions making a field goal, and then the pick 6, and then Love getting hit late. I mean, it was a very eventful quarter.
Yeah, it really was. Like, there's only one place we can start, though, and that is the ejection. We referred to it earlier. My opinion is, and I think, to be fair, most people probably agree with me. Penalty, yeah, 100%. But the ejection, especially the reason that it was given after the game, I don't buy it. I really don't buy it. I know, obviously, earlier in the day we had the Olave hit, which was horrific. But then they say, oh yeah, we have the reason we think it's malicious because we believe he had time and space to make another decision. In slow-mo, you can believe that. You watch it in real time, and people haven't seen it. Jeremy Reisman, who we obviously love here, has posted it, and you can really see he is trying to bring it up. It's just because of his momentum and the speed that they're going at. He doesn't do it in time. He still leads with his shoulder. The shoulder gets first, but yeah, there's helmet contact. For me, that's not grounds for an ejection. It just isn't. You look at, and everyone else has done it as well. There were other hits that day, the Olave one, the one with Jordan Poyer on Keon Coleman, other ones that were fairly similar, that were no ejection. And yeah, it's happened before. Players got ejected before, but it just feels a bit off that New York felt they had to intervene on this when, yeah, it was a penalty. He could accept it. He was accepting it. And an ejection happens and he loses his cool, which he's going to get reprimanded for again by the league. He's going to get a massive fine for it, but also by the team, because you just can't do that. As funny as it is, as cool as the picture is of him flipping the double birds at the Green Bay sideline and the fans, you can't lose your cool at that. And we'll come on to another player who does similar with Amik. In these kind of divisional things, you just can't let the emotions get to you. You have to keep cool and calm, collected, and it's just made it worse. And yeah, it's luckily it didn't impact the game for us too much. They still missed the field goal. We still win the game. But if the game went the other way, maybe we would be a bit like the Green Bay fans and being a bit like, that was a real turning point in the game. Did New York really have to step in, screw the refs and that? Still screw the refs. Clete Bateman, he's obviously done it before. the phantom hands to the face with Trey Flowers, all this. This is another this is another black mark against him. We even said on the broadcast, oh yeah, last time he had him, he didn't do too badly, which is the Monday Night Football game against the Raiders last year, the debut of the nice, lovely helmets. Great game. Yet again, the refs have put themselves into the annals of these games. But yeah, was a penalty, the ejection? No. I know some people can disagree. I know you do. But for me, it just wasn't ejection. But that's that. It happened, whatever. The Kirby pick six. If you haven't seen his post-match interview, that reporter is trying to hold on to that microphone for dear life because I think she's scared that if she lets him have it, he is just going to say stuff she can't control because he was so giddy, he was so happy. He kept obviously thanking his teammates, thanked God and all this, thanked AG for putting him in the position, wished Aiden the best, obviously said he missed Branch and that. Just so happy for him to get that. And what's it with him at Lambeau? Seemingly making Green Bay QBs his sons. It's funny as hell. And yeah, like just screw the NFL as well for doing the whole Xavier McKinney show before the game, all most interceptions through the first 8 games of the season. And then when Kirby does it, they still haven't posted about it. They always love Green Bay. But yeah, I'm happy that he got his big play there. Because, that was the turning point in the game as well. If they meant and got 3 points on that, went in 10-6, they still would have had a chance. But that one play flips it. We're 2 scores up. And it kind of put the game beyond doubt because we were going to get the ball first out the half. We were on that kind of roll where we would either bleed the clock and get a field goal or we'd go and score a touchdown. It just made it a bit too much for the Packers to get back to, especially with the Love hit at the end where it comes up lame. We'll probably come on to it later, but what a shit coaching decision from the Packers to not put Malik Willis in after that. Like, Love was visibly limping. He was not 100% after that. He probably wasn't even 50%, and yet they kept him out. Was it because Jordan Love refused to come out the game? In which case, how fucking weak are you, Matt LaFleur, if you're getting bent over by 2 QBs now? First, you're Aaron Rodgers' bitch when he was there, and now you're letting Jordan Love treat you like this? Or do you really not want the controversy if Malik Willis came in and actually looked decent? Because I was saying it in my game preview, Rico Lillis has been the better passer for Green Bay and is the better runner. He would have given them such a bigger chance, but the fact they didn't put him in just sealed the game for him because there was nothing Love could do. Really nothing Love could do. He just wasn't throwing the ball right, wasn't in time with his receivers. The snapping wasn't great. Willis would have given him an extra dimension. But instead, they just, by halftime, their game was over to the point where if people have listened to the Detroit Lions podcast post-game show with that fan who was calling in on the bus full of Packers fans, winding them up, he knew by halftime he was going around congratulating them for a good game. Nearly got himself into a fight, but yeah, just 2 little turning points in the game. One that could have been massive, but fortunately wasn't, and then one that really was a big turning point.
Yeah, so you alluded to the fact that I believe that the decision to eject Branch was correct. And let me say this. I am not considering what happened around the rest of the league or what has happened around the league in general this year. I'm not taking that into consideration. I'm just looking at this one play. When you have a look at where Branch launched his tackle from, I'm not saying he launched into the tackle because it wasn't targeting in that way. He always ran through it, but he goes extremely high. He does lead with the shoulder, but he is leading with the head as well. It's kind of like a joint very close to leading exactly with the head, but just about gets with the shoulder. But it's not low on the helmet, almost just below it. It's right smack bang on his forehead. Like, there's no, oh, it was close, but not really. It's exactly the sort of thing that means that NFL players after they've retired die at 40. It's exactly the sort of play you're trying to eliminate from the game, and it's not like Branch was within a yard of the guy when he tried to tackle him. He's 2.5 yards by the time he decides to go for it, and when you're that far away, you can decide to hit him in the torso. Like, launch yourself lower. You can just make that decision. Branch, I don't believe there's any malice in it. I don't believe that Branch is a dirty player. There's a really great article by Mike Payson talking about Branch's history with getting pinged 4 hits to the head. It doesn't make for great reading in terms of his history. With that said, I don't believe Branch is a dirty player whatsoever. But it is unfortunate. I think it speaks to prioritizing the wrong things in a tackle potentially, or not deliberately trying to avoid a dangerous scenario. And I don't believe intentionally going for it and not intentionally not going for it are the same thing. So it's hard and it's harsh. I don't think it. I think I can acknowledge the fact I still think it's the right decision to say it's harsh on Branch. But if you have a look at the sort of tackles you want to try and remove from the league, I'd rather have the hit drop in and this out of the game. So I'm okay with it. If you do put it in context with how this is being called around the rest of the league, it's frankly fucking ridiculous that this is an ejection. But for me, it's not relative. What's the law and what are you trying to achieve? This fits the mould. Of course, the Olave hit should be an ejection. The guy's in fucking hospital, or was, and then he obviously got discharged later. And there are plenty of instances around the league where other people should have been ejected. But just because they've got all those decisions wrong, and for me this one right, doesn't make this one then wrong because you're not being consistent. What I'm asking for is for this to be called consistently. You have now set a precedent coming from New York about exactly what you expect from this scenario. Can the league show me that they can call this consistently? Some people will call it ruining football, and I totally respect your view on that. Because in some ways, football is brutal, and you'd like to just allow all of the hits. There's that famous hit that Brady suffered in the early 2000s where he gets his head almost clean taken off, and it's like, that's real football. But we're not in that world anymore. And we don't want football players to die in their early 40s. And the league doesn't want to have a multi-trillion-dollar lawsuit in another 15 years when this gets litigated again. This has to be kicked out of the game. So that's all I'll say on that. I'm sure it will annoy some people. I'm sorry. It's just how I see it. But for the Lions, it's absolutely brilliant all the way through. The sack by Gary ends that drive, and that's really unfortunate because if Zeitler's foot doesn't trip Sewell, I think you're going to be fine on that drive. But Green Bay struggled on offense. They just did. They had a couple of chunk plays, and Jacobs ran the ball kind of okay. But despite the Lions' run defense getting burned a little bit, they were efficient in their defense in terms of not giving up that massive play for the Jacobs run, or some really competitive defense down the field. The coverage was absolutely fantastic. And then, of course, people were talking about the lack of pass rush, completely forgetting that drives were ended by some pass rush here, and the pick six was caused by a blitz and Anzalone being in his face. It wasn't as consistent as he wanted it to be, but the pressure we got caused points in favour of the Lions. So it wasn't all bad. And you're looking at a Packers team that maybe has one of the better O-lines that we've faced all season. And that's maybe an indictment about the state of offensive lines around the league, because I don't think this Packers O-line is particularly good. But it's still one of the better ones. And I think that we got enough production to win this game from there. So that was really encouraging. Anything you want to talk about in the first half, or should we move on to the second?
I think that's about it. We talked about the big moments.
Danny Band asks, is there a possibility of suspension for Branch? The short answer is yes. The long answer is flipping the bird may be anything from a fine to a suspension of 1 game. And the NFL has a precedent for consistent hitting to the head being banned. I'm thinking Perfect, but there's also other players in there. There was one last season who got banned for a couple of games for it being his like 5th or 6th offence. This is Branch's.
Oh God, Texans guy. Give me a sec.
I can't remember who it is, but you'll find it, I'm sure. Because this is Branch's 5th offence in his first couple of seasons, I think there's a good likelihood that he also gets a 1-game ban from that. So between the two things, it could be a 2-game ban. It could be just a fine. We don't know.
Kareem Jackson. So he was ejected. He was ejected in week 2 from the legal hit on Logan Thomas, suspended for that. And then he was, he was ejected for that. Week 7, he was then suspended for a game after the hit on Luke Musgrave. And then 4 weeks later, he was suspended from the legal hit on Josh Dobbs.
I think with Kareem Jackson, the hits were egregious, and I think universally they were condemned. Whereas with Branch, there's a lot of defenders here, including Pat McAfee and other shows coming out and saying, other people saying, I don't believe this should be an ejection. So I think that might be the saving grace. I don't think there is a popular thought that there should have been an ejection, and therefore you might avoid the ban for the hits to the head. Because even though it's 5 hits now to Branch in the head, I don't think it's a pattern of intended behaviour where it's something that, like, yes, so TJ is right, it's not an isolated incident of misbehaviour, yes, but also it's not egregious. So
yeah, and the last one, which was the Trey McBride one, there was a widespread uproar when he was fined for it, and not McBride, when McBride was the one that led with his head. So it's kind of...
And I was leading the calls on that. I wanted McBride fined. But anyway, we move. Second half, Lions up by 14, and they have the ball. And this, I think, really does end the game. I think at 17-3, if the Lions go 3 and out, Packers are right back in the game. But instead, Dorsey returns it to the Detroit 28. A fake handoff, quick throw, wide receiver screen to the other side to Amon-Ra St. Brown for 11 yards. Beautiful play. Really good fake by Jared Goff on that. Second down and 9. Outside handoff in shotgun for 9 yards. Leads to 3rd and inches, but an illegal shift means it's 3rd and 6. And Goff versus the blitz misses Khalif Raymond, but Raymond was held by Keyshawn Nixon, which ruined the chemistry on the throw, so that was a first down. Goff then with a play action check down over the middle to Sam LaPorta for 9. Handoff to Gibbs with a big hole, just tripped up from behind by Corey Valentine? It's Corey Ballantyne. Which one's Valentine? I get confused with my stupid Green Bay Packers. Carrington Valentine. Ugh, I hate those stupid names.
That's why if you remember my name on the show for the preview, Valentine doesn't matter. I said lines by 10. I am a genius.
Right, so Gibbs almost broke that for the touchdown, but instead gets hauled down after a gain of 19 by Valentine to the Green Bay 24. Gibbs runs behind the right guard for 4, outside the right tackle for 4. On 3rd and 1, Goff misses Gibbs on a wheel route, but on 4th and 1, handoff in shotgun to Gibbs for a 15-yard touchdown. The blocking by Seitler and Sewell on the right-hand side of the offensive line to open up the hole to the right of Sewell is beautiful. Preston Smith gets absolutely handled. Gibbs basically walks in for 15-yard touchdown on that 4th and 1. P80 is good, and the Lions lead 24-3. And just to briefly stop, many thanks to Jeff Hurley for the $10 super sticker. It says wrecked. Appreciate you, Jeff. Thank you very, very much. All right, so Green Bay down 21. Got to be feeling it now. And yet they go 3 and out. On 3rd and 3, Love throws incomplete to Wicks. Punts fair caught by Khalif, and holding sets the Lions back even further on Terry and Arnold. And with a chance to really bury them now, the Lions actually go 3 and out themselves. 3rd and 6, Goff under pressure, throws it into double coverage to Amon-Ra St. Brown, who actually catches it but is a yard short. And a punt to the Green Bay 15. It was a brilliant... punt from the 15, I should say, by Jack Fox. He took a cracking catch of a low snap by Hogan Hassan, and it was fair caught at the Green Bay 25. Jaden Reed really didn't want to return anything that day. Green Bay's takeover then, still down 21, and love with the play action throw with great timing to Jaden Reed on the deep crosser from left to right over the middle. Great catch by Romeo Dobbs for a 6-yarder on a shallow cross at this time. 3rd and 1. Love under pressure escapes to the right and throws to Jaden Reed. 3 yards to convert. Detroit challenge it, and the challenge fails. It was close, but not close enough. Love with a play action throw to Tucker Kraft on the outside for 13 yards to the Detroit 14. On 2nd down and 10, a bad snap missed by Love. It goes back about 10 yards, but Wilson manages to return it for 9 to only lose 1. And on 3rd and 11, another bad snap, but Love manages to get on it for a loss of 5. On 4th and 16, they decide they're going to take 3. And a 38-yard field goal is good, makes it 24-6. Great return by Isaiah Williams to the Detroit 39, but they go 3 and out again, the Lions. On 3rd down and 10, Goff with lots of time misses Sam Laporta on the left-hand side. And if he gets any more air under that, that could be returning for 6. Lions got a bit lucky there that it didn't. We punt, and it's fair court again at the Green Bay 17. So Green Bay get themselves 3. It's an 18-point game now, and they got the ball back. Love passes short in the middle under pressure to Watson for 14. Almost got sacks there. But then a false start on Zach Tom makes it 1st and 15. Love then misses Watson deep, who had absolutely burned Amik Robertson, but Love overthrew it. 3rd and 15, check down to Brooks over the middle for 10. And on 4th and 5 at the Green Bay 35, they decide to go for it. And an incredible catch by Jaden Reed versus Ennis Rakestraw on the near sideline. Slot fade for 28 yards. I tell you, it's a gutsy call on 4th and 5 to throw a slot fade for about 30 yards. I mean, low percentage play in a high leverage situation. It's clutch by Love and by Jaden Reed, showing you, exactly what they're capable of when they're firing on all cylinders. Fortunately for us, it only happened for basically one play. Another bad snap means a loss of 1 yard. On 2nd and 11, throw to Bo Melton for 19 yards versus Kirby. Brooks with a great run for 9 yards on 2nd and 1. Love dancing back there, then almost throws the ball at a line, but we couldn't get the interception after a bad and panicked throw, the 2nd time of the game. 3rd down and 1 then, he misses Wicks wide open in the end zone. Should have been an easy touchdown, and when you look at Love missing the one on the first drive for a touchdown, they're leaving 10 points on the board here. 11 points on the board here. On 4th down and 1, they run it with Jacobs, and it's a brilliant tackle by Trevor Nowaski and Jack Campbell to hold him short, and it's a turnover on downs. 3 more drives to go. Detroit on 3rd and 3, pressure throw to Amon Russell Brown for 5, and a new set of downs, allowing the Lions to burn some more clock. They run a trick play next to Khalif Raymond, but it doesn't fool Enigbare, who forces a loss of 11. On 2nd and 21, Goff under pressure is hit by Nixon, but it's a late hit for me, but not called. 3rd and 21, check down for Raymond for 12. 4th and 9, the Lions punt to the Green Bay 38. The first bad punt of the day by Jack Fox, really. Returned by Reed to the 45. Green Bay's last possession now at 24-6. 3rd and 1, and a Love handoff to Wilson with a nice cutback for 19 yards. On 3rd and 4, missed throw to Melton in the end zone. Again, unsportsmanlike conduct on Amik Robertson gives Green Bay a 1st down instead of it being a 4th down and 4. At the Detroit 11, 2nd down and 10, throw over the middle to Kraft for 9. On 3rd and 1 at the 2, handoff to Wilson for a 2-yard touchdown. A 2-point try to make it a 10-point game. Throw to Watson's sidearm over the middle is good for 2 to make it 24-14, and still plenty of time to go. But the onside kick, they declare it, and it's kicked almost straight out of bounds. The Detroit start at their own 47. And then it's the Monty show to finish it off. Nice run, ends in a 1st down, goes run, 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 gets the 1st down. Then a 1st down run for 12 yards after that. And then a play action check down to Monty for 14 yards for another 1st down. That's what your timeout's done. That's your 2-minute warning. And that is the ball game. Ash, that second half really went to plan. It was 17-3 at the end of the first half. It ends 24-14. So they actually end up losing the second half. But they managed it. Green Bay didn't get much until garbage time. And even then it was a struggle. They had to get the Amik Robertson getting carried away to even, get to converting. And yet the execution was poor. Green Bay were either dropping things, or Love was just missing wide open guys twice in the end zone in this period. It could maybe have been closer if their execution had been better, and yet the coverage was good. We even had room for a loss of 11 on the trick play, and it just didn't matter. All in all, a pretty good session. Any thoughts on that second half?
Yeah, I agree. It was kind of like the inverse of last week, where the first quarter the Titans looked really good, then it all fell apart. This one we could afford that to happen in the second half, where just that second quarter in particular for us to swung it, and then we could afford to maybe let them have almost the garbage time yards. Like we, for the most part, I think we both spotted it. We went more to soft zone, all that kind of thing. We just let them have the 3 yards, and when it came to the money downs, again, we just didn't break. We bent, didn't break. The only downsides really were the penalty on Arnold on the punt. But even then, just like we did last week with the 4th-and-1 with the Khalif's touchdown, we respected the Packers enough that, they might come back into this. But again, it was the starting defense out there. That's why Arnold was out there. He's not really trained in special teams because he doesn't need to be, because he's not starting corner. It means there's the holding. But again, we respected the Packers enough that even at 24-3, we're like, there's still enough time for them to come back into it here, even though it's a 3-score game. They could come back into it. They could easily fake this. We've got the first team defense out there for a punt return, unlike our divisional foes. On the other side, again, we're bringing up the Hail Mary when on a low percentage play like that, one of their players has decided to yap to the fans, and look, what happens. Fair enough. But again, just the respect we had even for Green Bay, even in the division, we're like, we respect you enough that, we've got this big lead. We're still going to try our hardest here. I know Tom Brady didn't exactly like the trick play, but again, is it really a trick play? That's what we do. Trick plays are a fundamental part of our offense now, despite, as people who watch the Madden streams for Pride of Detroit know, we're one of the many playbooks that still don't have a flea flicker in there. There's only 2 playbooks that have a flea flicker in. They're part of us. We don't do it just to rub it in. That's just what we do. We see looks. We're like, you know what? Let's do it. Didn't work this time. But who knows? In a couple of weeks, again, with that look, do something different. It works. That's what our offense is all about. It is kind of, in a way, like what we said earlier with Spags and the Chiefs defense, where he's constantly putting players into different positions to see how they react. That's what we're like in offense. We're like, let's see if this works. Let's see if we can build something off this. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But for the most part, it was just what we need to do. The only thing really got to say is, other than that, is see Cleveland. That's what a closer looks like. And like that pitch you were saying should have won the pitching award over Scooble. Monty is what a proper game closer looks like.
Oh, yeah. And let's go into game themes straight away. The first one I have is that Lions rushing offense. I know we talk about it all the time, but my God, it is good. The highlight figure says 3.9 yards per carry, but take out the -12 for Raymond, take out the -2 for Goff on the kneel downs, kneel downs. You were at 4.95 yards per carry between Monty and Gibbs. And Monty's graft at the start and the end of the game won us the game early, didn't lose us the game late. And then Gibbs, no trickery needed with the yardage to get him to a good figure. Another game with over 5 yards carry, almost 6. And sometimes with Gibbs, it's like, okay, you've broken a really big one for 45 yards. That's why you're so good. His long was 18 yards, and he's going at 5.9 yards a carry. That's absolutely exceptional. The blocking, the run blocking, especially for the Lions, was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it was. Sometimes, as you know, I was saying it on the stream yesterday, the inside stuff wasn't working. They were pinching the line, really shutting that down. But even then, when we needed to get the yardage, we could. The 4th down with the touchdown with Gibbs, perfectly executed, to the point now where if people see it on Twitter, people are now tweeting and not even joking about it, that Penne should get votes for Offensive Player of the Year.
Mina Kimes tweeted it.
Yeah. So does Dan Casey, who's one of my favorite follows on there because he does a lot of like the offensive play stuff. So that book that I've got, that's all the Lions plays from 2 years ago. He's the guy that wrote that. He also tweeted a whole thread about it. The fact that we're at that point where a tackle it's like with Branch and Hutch with the defensive player of the year kind of stuff. The fact that we're getting that kind of recognition is great. But yeah, just the run get like in general. Gibbs is now the first player in NFL history with 5 games of 5 yards a carry, minimum 10 carries in each game or something stupid like that. Like he's breaking big records. So, despite what some analysts say, he's not really replaceable in the Lions offense. He's a fundamental part. And unlike what another analyst said earlier this year, we didn't waste the first round pick on him. And we didn't, as we'll come on to later, with one of our other usual sections. We also didn't waste the other one in that draft. But yet the run game for us, when we needed it to work, it did what it needed to do. There were some bad plays, the trick play, the Monty's runs that got stuffed for no yards. But at the same time, we've got the number 1 and number 8 running back in success rate on the ground in the NFL pending Monday Night Football. Gibbs is number 1. Monty's number 8. That's pretty damn good. That's really damn good.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. And we've kind of alluded to it earlier, but the high leverage moments just go Detroit's way. In that first half, you go for it twice on 4th down. It results in touchdowns. They get the pick against Love. These are massive game-changing moments. And that first 4th down where you threatened to go for it on 4th and 5, I'm convinced that they were going for it anyway, and that's what actually draws the penalty, is that you have to take the threat of the Lions going for it on 4th down seriously. Going for it consistently on 4th down means that teams are looking at you, even on 4th and 5, in the red zone going, I think they're going for this. No, seriously, I think they're going for this. Whereas most teams would try and draw you off sides. It's so common. You see the cadence. No one's really taking it seriously. Defense look around going, you're not going for it, and I know you're not. And with the Lions, you can't do that because Dan Campbell's crazy, and that mentality of things is like, it's like a crazy person having the nuclear button, like, oh, well, you might actually press it though, so we've got to take this seriously in kind of like, and I hate using this analogy, but especially given the time, it is tomorrow, but the sort of Donald Trump effect of like, oh my God, what if he does actually press the button? Let's get off politics. But, the Lions are such a threat on 4th down, it makes a difference. And then the Lions, I don't think, blitzed very much in this game at all, but when they did, it really caused Love a massive problem.
Yeah. We'll come on to the D-line probably, because obviously that's why we're looking at trades. But yeah, just it's the sort of, again, those high leverage moments we said, going for it, the pick, the 4th down touchdowns. It kind of exemplifies the whole philosophy of the teams we were saying earlier. Well, that microcosm of the first quarter where it's a 4th down, the Packers just kick the field goal, playing the traditional odds of get the points on the board. We'll see, and then we'll go from there. We're playing the sort of more the newer odds, the analytics, the nerd odds of go for it on the 4th down. If you make it, great. You've either got a chance to set up more points, or you get the points. You get 7 instead of 3. Or if you don't, you've got the Packers in their own 10-yard line. They've got to drive the entire field. The probability is by the time they get into the red zone, or at least the soft red zone where they can kick a field goal, you would have stopped them. It's playing those kind of odds. And yeah, as you said, with that sort of last bit where when it came to it, the pass rush was getting there, causing the pick and that. Aleem had one less pressure by himself than the entirety of the Packers did. And there was times when you're thinking, oh God, like the Packers are really getting to Goff here. The fact that we managed to do that with admittedly practice squadders is pretty good. But at the same time, as Ant quite correctly put on our Discord, that's all well and good the past couple of weeks, but there's going to be games in the future where we're going to need the sacks, we're going to need the TFL, so that's why we're still looking for people. So yeah, a 21.1% blitz rate from us So he blitzed 8 of Love's dropbacks. It worked. 2 completions, 25 yards, and the interception that happened because technically Kirby was coming on the blitz.
Yeah.
27.2 offensive grade from Love on those plays.
It's almost the perfect blitz rate for the Lions, because the thing is, when you blitz too often, the quarterback settles into the rhythm where they have the clock going off on their head, knowing exactly when they need to throw. A blitz needs to be a surprise. You need to be able to do enough without the blitz so that he's still on his toes, and then he's genuinely taken surprise by the blitz. And the Love looked like he was taken surprise by the blitz every single time it came. I remember quite early on in the game, Amik came on a nickel blitz and actually Love did okay in that one scenario very early on. And then from then on, he was struggling all the way through the game, so I thought it was a nice rate of dropping into coverage and blitzing. And the thing is, we're so good in coverage that it meant that blitzing was good value when it happened, because you weren't a liability on the back end behind it.
Yeah, exactly. And it obviously comes on to one of the other big points, the fact that the coverage was so damn good this week. Like, okay, yeah, Kirby props up a bit with the pick 6, but Carlton, 83.6 coverage going from PFF. Jack and Anzalone both above 17 coverage. Arnold, 63.6, got dinged, I think, for some of the big ones he gave up and the high percentage allowed. The coverage was pretty damn good, to the point where I think Campbell right now is the 5th best coverage grade from all linebackers with a minimum of snaps or something. Like, he's really developed in that aspect, because, and I hold my hands up, I was the one that scouted him for the podcast way back, and I think we'd get him. I was like, great point and shoot run linebacker, can blitz, can run defend, can do some stuff in zone, but you put him in man, he's going to get lost. He's really developed in his coverage to the point where, yeah, I trust him at Mike. Yeah, he's given up 75 completion this week, but only for 23 yards, most of it yak as well. And that's because partly he's getting dinged as the closest defender on the screens. Coverage has really stepped up to the point where, as we were saying last year with our coverage, we needed the players. It's flipped to the pass rush this year, the D-line. We can trust whoever we put back there. If Branch misses a game, especially against Texans, if they get Nico Collins back, we might have a few more issues because it probably won't be raining. And let's be honest, CJ Stroud is a better passer than Jordan Love. But we should be able to ride out, even if we have to put Brandon Joseph back there, if we have to play a bit more cover one or some man concepts to not put stress on the zones. We can do that. We've got the players now to do that. We've got the trust in the players to do it. So it's really nice to see, because, yeah, we almost, in a space of a year and a half, we've gone from, if Aaron Glenn can leave, we don't really mind. He's had a couple of years, he hasn't really worked, to see what else we can do, to now with the news today about Dennis Allen, he could legit go and we'll be like, hang on, okay, what do we do now? Because, yeah, it might be like Swafford might get Dennis Allen in. He's a decent defensive coordinator, but does he have the leadership of men that Glenn does? That, yeah, you saw him on the sideline with Amik when he was yapping. He was like pointing to his head, like, come on, use your head. And obviously Amik still gets flagged, but he's got that quality now where people want to play for him and they want to play hard for him. And that's going to be a big miss if we lose it, because it's took him a couple of years, but he's developed Kirby from a rangy, raw, athletic free safety who can jump balls because he used to be a receiver to a complete safety. He's took Branch from, admittedly, a first-round talent who shouldn't got drafted that low, but someone who was mostly slot corner, to one of the best safeties within half a season of playing at safety. He can develop, we can finally see the develop. He's took Aiden Hutchinson, someone who everyone was like, he's reached his ceiling, his college, he's going to be a stable floor guy for them, but can he ever be a true edge one? To, before his injury, the runaway favourite for Defensive Player of the Year.
You've talked about the back seven. I don't think I need to add anything to it. I didn't really weigh in on the pass rush, which you've kind of talked about as well. Obviously, the Lions are in talks for a trade. Dan's confirmed it several times. There's also reports about the fact that the Lions are imminently going to make a trade. It hasn't happened yet. There is 24 hours and 21 minutes to go until the trade deadline. So it hasn't happened yet. And frankly, with just 24 hours to go, it wouldn't be a surprise. As I wrote in my article last week, it wouldn't be a surprise to see the Lions not make a trade. If the Lions don't make a trade, I still think the Lions should be favoured in every game they play, no matter who they play, no matter where they play. The way that we're playing right now, and a person asked the question, Marcus in the live chat asked the question, are the Lions the best team in the NFL and what's your top 5? Get to the top 5 later. The Lions are the best team in the NFL, and it's not that close. I think Ravens are probably number 2 on form, but they are prone to the odd bad game. But when they're on form, I mean, Lamar had maybe the best game of his career yesterday. It was absolutely exceptional. And he is playing the best football of his career, bar none, and he's got 2 MVPs. So maybe Baltimore's up there. I don't think the Chiefs are in my top 5, but they're not in the top 2. They're just not playing well enough for me. I said about I do top 5 later. But anyway, the point is, even with the pass rush we have right now, we're not just eking out games. And people talk about the fact that the Lions are managing these games. We're pummeling good teams. Have a look at what the Arizona Cardinals did to the Chicago Bears yesterday. And we handed it to that team. Yes, okay, what happened to the Bucs happened to the Bucs with us. But everyone else that we've played, it's not been lucky. Bar one game, maybe. We've been exceptionally good with basically this team in the last month. So, if we don't draft someone, I think we'll be okay. Like, I want to enhance our Super Bowl chances as much as possible. So, I'd love to see a trade or two. But I think we have enough in our pass rush that it's not a complete liability with how good the coverage has been. My real fear with where we are is that we get injuries in the secondary. And then suddenly the pass rush really does matter. So that's maybe the reason why I want to see us go for a trade now in the pass rush. Is yes, that's going to help us now, but in the future, if Carlton Davis goes down, or if Terry and Arnold goes down, or if Kirby Joseph goes down, or at least maybe we're getting some sacks to make up for that. It's still a long season. There's still 8 weeks to go until the playoffs begin. Sorry, there's 8 weeks until the season ends. There's 9 weeks until the playoffs. We need to set up that number 1 seed. We need to do all we can to then get healthy. Maybe some of the players that have been out for quite a long time start coming back towards that time. If we can get the bye, maybe that buys a week for some of these guys as well. Getting someone who can get some sacks and maybe end some games a bit more easily would be important to us. So I'd love to see us make a move, but I think we'd be okay anyway. Low key. There was a lot made about the elements, about the rain and ash. Green Bay dealt with it atrociously.
Yeah. And it's been nice. I don't know if people have seen I think it's a Good Morning Football segment where they literally mention this. That was the one hole that people could really poke in our team right now is, can they do outside? Can they play in the elements of doing all these inside dome games? This is the first one. They only have to. Can they do it? We ended that. We ended it a couple of years ago, last year, arguably, when we won there the second time in a row. We ended that. Okay, yeah, then we had the best game. We can play outdoors. We can play any kind of game, and it's taken till yesterday for teams to people to really realize that. We're built to win whatever kind of game you put us in. As Dan said, I think it was in the post-game presser, we can play in the snow, the rain, the mud. Hell, stick us in the middle of the Nevada desert, we'll still probably win a game. We can play any kind of game. Will you stop the run? Fine. We've got Amon-Ra. J-Mo will be back now. We've got Khalif. Tim Patrick and Alan Robinson are getting there. Sam Laporta's getting there. Brock Wright is Brock Wright. We've got this stuff to do in the passing game. Right, you want to stop the pass? Right, we can run the ball. You want to attack us and run? Well, we still haven't given up a 100-yard rush on the ground since that Carolina Panthers game a couple of years ago. You want to throw the ball on us? Oh, well, we've got 2 of the best safeties in the league and corners who are getting there and really stepping up. The only way, as I said, I think it was in the previous show, the only way we can lose games from here on out, injuries aside, is if we shoot ourselves in the foot. And I don't really see that happening anytime soon because we play good disciplined football. football, aside from the branch one, the unique taunt, the unique unsportsmanlike conduct, we play pretty damn clean football. Like, the only way we can literally throw the game away is if we start doing the turnovers. And yeah, that's probably going to happen. We can't riot the turnover luck we're getting recently has been pretty good. Look what's happened to Mahomes last season to this season, where that turnover looks flipped it's regressed back to neutral. We're probably going to have games where we turn it over, but now I've also got faith that we can overcome those turnovers if Goff throws the ball away into an interception. We've got Kirby and Branch who can pick it back off for us. If we fumble the ball, well, we can stop the run, force you into third down, you're going to have to punt it away. We can overcome pretty much anything that's put in our way. We've overcome the Aiden injury. We overcame the Branch ejection in this game. It's only if those start piling up. Yeah, if we get an injury in the secondary, and now it's that sort of symbiotic relationships got disrupted. If Goff gets injured, if we throw the ball away consistently on offense, that's the only way I can see us losing a game anytime soon.
Yeah, I agree. Any other game themes you want to discuss before we talk stock up, stock down?
I guess we've kind of discussed it earlier in the things, but there's the difference between the coaches. Like, could you see Dan Campbell keeping Goff out there if Goff was limping in at halftime like Jordan Love was?
Well, I mean, he did keep Goff in when we were calling for him to leave almost an entire quarter a couple of weeks ago.
True. Yeah, Titans, but it wasn't as bad as this. Like, we both saw it.
Yes,
Love was like looking like he should be on the way to A&E. And especially since to make him linebackers. With maybe going to Hooker is a bigger downgrade. Them going from Love to Willis, is it really that much of a drop-off? But the coaching decisions of the going through it and all that.
It's not even if it's that much of a drop-off. It's stylistic fit. This is a game where throwing the ball is potentially dangerous, and you've got Willis, who's a legit running threat, who has operated the offense well. Love is a much better quarterback, and I don't think that is a crazy take. But given the scenario, given the injury, Willis was a clearly better choice. Given that, and especially considering how well they ran the ball in the first series, just think what they could have done if they were operating with Willis behind there and it was a dual threat thing where it was zone reads and all that sort of stuff. It would have been it would have been so good for them. So I don't get it. I really don't.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. Cool. All right, let's move this on. So stock up, stock down. We get to shout out a few players for doing well or doing badly. Ash, who's first up for you this week?
I kind of buried the lead earlier on this. Jack Campbell. People said we wasted those first round picks by getting Gibbs and Campbell last year. Now we've proven them wrong. Like, Jack Campbell has gone from starting to start the season, I was like, yeah, he's going to be the green guy. He'll probably get a lot more snaps, but he still has to show me. We're at this point now, and I'm like, yeah, I can see it. I can see the vision. He's stepped up in coverage. The game slowed down for him. He's making the right reads, and maybe it also helps the fact we're not sticking him out at Sam every other week, so he's just sticking at the mic line position and needs to know what he's doing. But he's escalated so well the past couple of weeks in terms of his play. Like this week, 60 snaps, 78.5 grade, 76.5 run defense, 72.6 tackling, 58 pass rushing, 70.8 like run coverage. Every facet of the game, he's making big plays. I know, admittedly, I think ESPN at one point were crediting him with 12 tackles. It's gone down to 11 on PFF, so 5 solo, 6 assisted, and he's missed one, so he's missed a tackle. But just his like the way he's playing. So since week 3, he is the third best linebacker on per PFF with an 84.7 grade. Just really stepped it up the past couple of weeks, and I'm happy we've got him for the next couple of years. He could be our no, I don't want to say Luke Kuechly because Luke Kuechly is like Hall of Fame potential, but that kind of player where you just stick him at Mike linebacker for the next 10 years and you forget about it.
Yeah. He, even without taking out those first few weeks, he's the 9th highest graded linebacker in the NFL. That's exceptional because you know what? You take the rough with the smooth, and to have a top 10 guy, who are the guys around him? Well, above him is Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, Zach Bourne, Foyesade Olokun, Jack Gibbons, Bobby Wagner, Leo Chanel, Landon Roberts, Fred Warner. Elite company. What more needs to be said about Jack Campbell? He's brilliant. My guy, first off the bat, we only had 8 pressures suffered, and our run blocking was terrific. This is a man who has had a bad last few games, and he went almost flawlessly this time. Taylor Decker, you answered the challenge. It wasn't a brilliant day for Taylor, but he didn't give up a sack. He played, I think, very well. This was a step up against, I think, maybe what some people would consider one of the better pass rushers in the NFL, Preston Smith. He did a number on him. So
yeah.
I thought that was a very impressive performance and much needed on Goff's blind side. I mean, the Packers, if they get ahead of steam, get you worried, it can be something which can absolutely torch you. And Decker stepped up to the plate.
Yeah. I'm not going to go for easy hanging fruit. We've already discussed Kirby enough for me not to go for him. So let's go for... You know what? The grades doesn't say that he had a good game, but you know what? Again, I'm going to put him there. Levi. Again, playing in a role that he's not supposed to be in. He's supposed to be a rotational free tech behind the lean. We bring him on certain pass rushing downs, and yeah, we use him outside occasionally. But the fact he's become our starting outside of like big end, 59.6 grade. Okay, not the best. But he's stepped up and he's doing admirably enough that, yeah, if we do get a more speed rushery kind of guy, if we get an Azeez Ojulari rather than a Zadarius Smith, and we need to keep Levi out there in that kind of role, I'm not too upset about it. Yeah, I still like to rotate Pascal M with him and just give him that time off because 49, nearly 50 snaps, which is like one of the most on the team. So yeah, that was 7th most on the team. That's a bit too much, but he's still doing admirably well in that position to still come in, make the plays. Only 1 pressure, but didn't miss a tackle with 4 tackles. Got 2 run stops. Impacted the game in the ways we needed him to, in sort of relief of one of our best players.
All right, my second guy is someone who I've doubted over this season, who hasn't had a lot of good games behind him, but has been someone the Lions have relied on nonetheless, is Carlton Davis. He was all over the field in coverage. He was sticky. He caused the only PBU credited on PFF. Thought his tackling was very good. I mean, the threat in this game was going to be that they've got 3 legit wide receivers and Love is a good passer of the ball. And they had a few chunk plays, but they didn't have anything which was backbreaking, and a lot of the competitiveness of the difficulty in them throwing, or just not being able to throw the ball at all and Love having to scramble back there, was because of coverage, and they were led in that by Carlton Davis. And I have been fairly vocal about saying, you know, he's been as good as Terrion Arnold, and people think Terrion Arnold has been doing shit. Well, yesterday he elevated himself. He was better than Terrion. Terrion, I also thought, had a good day. The whole back 4 had a really good day, and I thought Amik had a good day as well, despite the fact that he had a crap grade. I thought Amik in coverage was great as well. I think maybe one of the reasons why Amik had such a bad grade was because of the 2 tauntings that he had and got called for one and didn't for the other, but Carlton Davis is the leader of that group, and he really stepped up against... I mean, we've been going through a gauntlet of hard wide receiver trios. This is right up there. You know, there's maybe no bona fide one, but Dobbs had such a good season so far, and Reed has been fantastic too, and they just didn't have much play. So, Carlton Davis, well done, sir. Anyone else good that you want to give a shout out to, or anyone bad that you want to shout out as well?
I hate doing it. I hate doing it every week. I really do. But when you play a career high in snaps and your grade is 96th out of 98 qualifying players at your position, your run defense grade is 98th out of the is last of those positions. Your pass rushing grade is 66th. And this is supposed to be the game you're putting yourself in the shop window for other teams because it's looking like your career here in Detroit is pretty much over. Just didn't step up to the plate, Houston, unfortunately. Like, yeah, okay, 4 pressures, which is 15th in out those 98 edges. But when you have that many snaps, and yeah, we saw 2 of those pressures. It was him flushing Love out the pocket. That's about it. Like, you were liability in the run, and if you managed to beat your tackle, yeah, you flushed him out. But for the most part, I just saw him just getting pushed backwards by Zach Tom. Houston, unfortunately, you're probably going to the UFL, mate, and I hope you do great there and another team picks you up. But with Detroit, it's probably over. If we do get a guy in the next 24 hours, Houston is probably the guy who's making way for them.
I'm going to push back a little bit. So I think Houston came in and played the majority of his reps in the second half, when we were already quite far in front, and you knew that if the Packers were going to get back into the game, they were going to have to throw the ball. And they actually ran the ball, I think, maybe a bit more than expected, which I think actually played into the Lions' hands. So when Houston is playing out there, he's being told, just rush the passer, don't worry about the run defense. So when it comes to run defense this week, I could care less. It's not really what his assignment is. It's not really, for me, what he's being told to do. I mean, it isn't what he's good at. The pressures tell a story, for me, 4 of them. And while you're right about, the nature of them, I've seen consistently in the past couple of weeks a step up in that aspect of things. It's what he did well in the past. It's what he lost during the injury. And the last couple of weeks, he started to recapture a little bit of it. I mean, it's nowhere close to where it was. Do not get me wrong. But you've got to build from somewhere. And given how short we are at the position, I don't think Houston's going to be the one that falls, quite frankly. I think that as the season goes on, hopefully he can build on the pressure side of the game, because when it comes down to those key moments where you are up 7 against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, and you need to rush the passer because there's 1.5 minutes to go and Mahomes is driving, having Houston on the field when they can't run the ball is going to be an asset. And those are those sort of high leverage key moments where we don't have anyone like James Houston. And it's not been where we want it to be, but the pressures are starting to come. And I think that's a positive sign. So he still didn't have a fantastic game when it's all said and done. But I think there's a little bit of momentum in the places where for him it matters, because I could give 2 shits about his run defense grade now. That's not why he's here. And frankly, if the team hoped he'd get there with that, they're deluded. I think he's here precisely for what he's been asked to do in this game. And that is, when we're in front, finish it.
Yeah, my only pushback on that is, and I think if we go back, people could go back into halftime, was looking at the live grades. He was playing more snaps than Amik. So I think throughout the game, like there was times where I think it was at halftime and Meek was on about 13 snaps and Houston was like 21 or something stupid like that. So if you've got someone like, I know we live in base quite a lot, but if you're playing a lot more snaps than the starting nickel cornerback, yeah, he got the pressures, but if you're such a tell that everyone knows you're coming onto the field, they're like, yep, right, they're just going to try and pass rush us. We can run to that side, especially because Houston plays, I'm trying to see, yeah, he plays off the left-hand side, which is where Arnold lines up about 40% of the time. If they see Houston and Arnold there, they're just going to run the ball that side. It doesn't matter if they're 1.5 minutes and need 7, because they can fully expect they'll get a 20-yard play out of it. Like, of teams, he can just be that DPR. But where we are in terms of our defensive line, where the run defense is a massive question right now, and the pass rush needs help. If we do bring in Zadarius Smith, who we keep in, the guy who can be a capable backup for Zadarius Smith with Al-Qadim Mohammed, who does the exact same things that Smith does, admittedly, to a backup extent rather than a starter, or the guy who, could get back to that rookie season where he was great at pass rushing, but even then, his run defense was suspect. But it's not there. You got the pressures, but as you say, when he doesn't have to worry about run defense in the way he's been told to pin his ears back, when he only has like a 12% win rate, that's not it. Again, it's not, we're not expecting Hutch numbers where it's like 30-40% win rate, but when your one job is just a pass rush and you're only doing that 1 in 10 snaps, well, is it really worth keeping him over AQ, who can also win 10% of the time in pass rush, but also can run defend?
Yeah, I see that. That's fair. Okay, I do not think I have anyone to shout out negatively. I thought that everyone had a fairly good game. James Houston wasn't even the worst graded defender. Patrick O'Connor and Al-Qadim Mohammed were rated worse. I know that we weren't particularly great against the run, but I don't think either of them deserved those grades. I don't really understand why that happened.
Connor is getting pinged for that one missed tackle.
He missed his own because he only played 11 snaps and he missed his own.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
But then with AQ, I don't know either. Probably have to go back and watch it at some point because I still haven't watched the game back, to be honest, because obviously Sky blackout.
Yeah. I don't know why I could watch it on the zone at lunchtime, by the way.
Oh, I must have not checked at the right time.
Well,
I tried to watch it, it was on the treadmill.
Yeah, I'm just wondering whether maybe I could have watched it on the zone after all. I don't really know, but it should have been blacked out. So I don't know how I could watch it.
It wasn't on the zone. It wasn't on there yesterday because I was looking, because that's what I was doing before I started stream hopping, before I finally found the golden one that let me be semi up to date with stuff.
Okay. Can I trouble you just briefly then for the question by Marcus about the top 5 NFL teams? What's your personal ranking right now? Or do you want me to... Okay, Detroit 1, you've got it. Okay, Detroit 1.
Detroit 1. Baltimore 2. Kansas City 3. Buffalo 4. Minnesota 5.
Wow. Vikings still up there. I'm surprised.
DVOA, which I've got that open, which is why I have all like the top teams in front of me. By DVOA, they're still 4th in the league. And it's a good, like the gap between Kansas City in 3, Minnesota in 4, and then Minnesota in 4 and San Francisco in 5 is almost the same gap.
Okay, my 5. Lions 1. Ravens 2. Bills 3.
Yeah.
Chiefs 4. And 5.
Say.
I hate it. I'm going to go Commanders. I think you are what your record is at this point in the season. And the thing is, I just kind of believe in their team. And despite going into the season, everyone's saying this is one of the worst defenses in the league, they've been playing way above that. So I think Commanders are top 5. That's
fair. It's just, for me, the reason I put Minnesota like 5th is because if I had to pick one of the units, it's like with us, we can easily say with us, Baltimore, Kansas, and Buffalo, our offenses could easily win us the Super Bowl. And then you're looking at the others. I trust Minnesota's defense more than I trust Washington's offense right now. Yeah, the defense has been playing great. It's the 2nd by DVOA. No, it's not. It's 26th. It's 26th. I'm misreading it. Their offense has been 2nd by DVOA. Their defense has been 26th. While with Minnesota, defense first, far and away. Their offense has been 14th. So it's sort of Minnesota the more stable option, Washington the
Yeah.
higher upside. So Washington would be sick for me. So it's close.
Okay.
It's just I'll go with what I know over.
Do you think the Vikings are a viable Super Bowl contender?
No, but I honestly, and it might be a bit of hubris for me here, I honestly think there's only 4 teams that could get to the Super Bowl, and it's my top 4.
Chiefs, Lions, Bills, Ravens.
Yeah.
3 AFC teams, and the NFC team is a lock for the Lions.
Yes. I just look around and again, it might be hubris and the gods might strike me down and all that, to quote the Greek tragedies and that. I just look at each of the NFC teams and I just don't. Yeah, Washington might be the one offensively that could keep up with us, that could do Goff versus Mahomes when he was back at the Rams. But out of the other NFC teams, that Minnesota defense is the one I could see as causing the most issues if I was getting firing. Like Washington, yeah, Daniels can hit the high upside plays, has the rushing, but they're losing running back. Like their running backs aren't that great.
Mhm.
Offensive line's not 100% there, and they've got Terry McLaurin, and that's about it. While with Minnesota, they've got enough of a stable offense with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, even though Jordan Addison should not be on the field. TJ Hawkinson's back now, so offense is going to get better. Sam Darnold's passable enough, but you can deliver it to them. It's just, so for them, they're the ones I can see is giving us the most issues. But yeah, it's us a lot. I like a lock to win the NFC Championship and get into the Super Bowl. In my mind right now, obviously, this could change in 3 weeks' time if we don't make any move by the trade deadline. We have an injury in the secondary. Maybe the offense starts to fall off because that turnover luck with the fumbles starts to hit us. But right now, we're just far and above away anyone else in the NFC for me.
Yeah, I agree. There's 2 teams I think I would put in the frisky area outside the top 5. And those 2 teams are... 3 teams. 2 from the NFC and 1 from the AFC, where I think they could do a little something. One I actually picked to be in the NFC Championship game. Don't know if you remember who that was, because it's going back a bit.
No,
I know you've got a very good memory.
Back.
The Atlanta Falcons.
Fair.
I think there's something about them that's just kind of to like. They dropped some poor games early, but since then I think they've got a bit more stable, and Cousins has started to look better. I think the Falcons are always going to be a slow burn because of the nature of Cousins' injury, but by the time he gets to sort of back end of the season, playoff time, he should be firing on all cylinders, and he looks okay now. The other NFC team is the Packers. Despite what happened in this game, Love's injured. It didn't quite work today, but they've done enough through the rest of the season to make me think that they're maybe the second best team in the NFC. I said it during the game yesterday. I thought they were the second best team in the NFC. That didn't really change. The other team in the AFC, the only team in the entire conference on the AFC side of things where I feel very confident about one side of the ball, and the other side of the ball gives me hope for them, is the Chargers.
Yeah.
And I hate believing in them, but something feels different about this Chargers team. That defense is the best in the league, I think. Maybe.
It's been they are currently by DVOA, because that's what I've got. They're 6th.
Okay, so they're way up there, but you have a look at what Khalil Mack's doing over there. He's being incredible. Harbaugh's doing his thing, and that offense is not great, but it can fire. Apparently they had 13 first downs in the game yesterday, but they eked out the win. And because some of their touchdowns came on like 3rd and 20, where Herbert absolutely bombed them down the field for some huge gains. So if that offense can start hitting its stride, I think the Chargers with that defense could beat anyone on the AFC side of the thing.
That's fair, yeah.
We'll see.
So,
I don't know. I like it.
Yeah. 10 passing first downs, 3 rushing first downs. Mad. Yeah, I can see it. Maybe a team I'd add. Like, honestly, yeah, to fair those. Yeah, that's honestly it. Like, so another NFC team? Not really. AFC wise, yeah.
Other NFC teams I like. I mean, the Bucks are just done because of their wide receiver situation.
Yeah.
The Cardinals are low key interesting.
Yeah. And they've just obviously just added Baron Browning, who is a decent replacement for Jonathan Gardeck, though a slightly different player. Gardeck's a bit bigger and stouter. But yeah, I'm just trying to, because I'm thinking hubris now. Like, oh yeah, the only NFC team I can maybe see enter the conversation, depending on how a certain player comes back from being on IR, because I know they've opened his window today. Could CMC coming back from San Francisco give him enough rejuvenation to bring him back in contention? Because even without him right now, they are the fifth team by DVOA, sixth on offense, fifth on defense, 30th on special teams. Could he bring enough spark back to them with obviously to replace the injuries that's happened to them to push them back in contention? Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, they're 500, and that division is way up for grabs. So if they hit a pot patch, they're going to find themselves in the top 4 seeds and have a home playoff game, and from there, anything can happen. So sure, that NFC West is wide open. If you said to me any of them won it, I wouldn't be surprised. Even Seattle, who look all at sea right now, could find themselves hitting form late. I mean, Geno somehow almost did enough to win.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say that after that interception that we're kind of laughing at after with the JSN drop into it, he was dealing.
Yeah, he was. So that parlays nicely into us talking about the rest of the week. So let's do that. Thursday night football. Jets beat the Texans 21-13. Texans were 7-0 up at half time before dropping the ball late, and there was also a massive catch by Garrett Wilson. Low-key, fun game. Rodgers came to the party eventually.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I completely agree. God, that Devonta Smith must be hating Garrett Wilson right now for his catch because it makes his one seemingly insignificant. But yeah, well done to the Jets. And we say that they've just been flexed off prime time, so we don't have to suffer through them in 2 weeks' time on Sunday Night Football, which is great. But yeah, just new head. I'm attributing a bit to it to the new head coach bounce. See if they can continue it on, because if they start looking bad again and A. Ron starts chucking his toys out the pram, who knows?
Next up, Cowboys at Falcons. Falcons win 27-21 in a game that ended up as a one-possession game, but never really seemed close. And Cousins, a very efficient performance all around.
Yeah. Cousins did what he needs to do. The Falcons did what they need to do. The Cowboys just look at sea, and it doesn't help now that Dak's got the hamstring injury that's going to keep him out. But obviously, at the same time, he had that hand injury at the same time that didn't get reported on the injury report for him. Though when he was coming off, his hand literally ballooned, like it looked like King Charles's hand with his sausage fingers. So God knows what they're going to do, because they've hitched their wagon to Dak. Their season's probably done. McCarthy's going to probably be on the way. God knows what the Cowboys do for me. But yeah, Falcons look pretty damn good. And with the Bucs being at sea with no receivers, with the Saints firing Dennis Allen and the Panthers just being the Panthers, they're going to run away with the South. They're going to get potentially the 3 seed. Arguably, because I can just see, as we said a minute ago, the NFC West is just going to scrap on each other to the point where they're just going to be the 4th seed, because they'll probably be close to 500. And they could probably win a game, which will be good. After that, I don't know. But yeah, they're feisty. I like them.
We have a question from Adam Gilchrist, our resident Packers fan. Something to ponder for after we've gone through this slate. Says, what head coaches will be fired, do you think? So while we consider that, let's get on with the rest of the slate. Next game up is a horrible loss for the Dolphins. They fall 30-27 in a super competitive game. Miami looked great. They were always kind of coming from behind, but got back to tie it up and then fell to a very deep, late game-winning field goal.
Yeah, like obviously number one, press up for Keon. Do not want to see you get done like that. I was hoping to see you in a couple of weeks' time when we play the Bills. But yeah, the big one for me, though, was the Ray Davis emergence in the receiving game. Who would have seen that? Like, Cook doing it on the ground, but you're Ray Davis, I think like 2 receptions, 70 yards. Like, I was quite like, he was good coming out of Kentucky, but not that good to the point. They have a decent backfield with Allen, the threat he can pose with his legs if he wants to do it. James Cook, him, Bruce Ray Davis, Ty Johnson, the former Lion as well, efficient 7.7 yards on the ground against Miami. They've got stuff there. That's why I've ranked them high. Like the only receiver who is close to Amon Ra right now in terms of the catch streak is Khalil Shakir. They've got enough weapons there that they can do it, and then that defense is sneaky good. Like, I know it was all the thing last year with him coming back, but Damar Hamlin actually looks like a startable NFL player now. Like, that's comeback player of the year for sure now. Next year it will be Hutch. But yeah, great for the Bills. Dolphins, aggrandizer that we discussed last. Like, A-Chain looks good. Your running game looked good. Jalen Wright had some really good runs I could see. It just wasn't enough today. And there'll be other games where it will be, but I don't know. 2-6 is a bit adrift in that NFC East, AFC East. I mean, it's probably looking at next year now, just reset and then come back next year.
Next game up is Raiders at the Bengals. Bengals win in a high score of 41-24. And they were blowing the Raiders away, but still managed to somehow concede 24 points to a Raiders team who benched their starting quarterback openly for someone they claimed not on waivers, from someone else's practice squad only a couple of weeks ago. Raiders in disarray, fire Luke Getsy, their offensive coordinator, and they still scored 24 points.
Yeah. Well done to me, Abdullah, for still existing. 3 catches for 14 yards and then 4 carries for 12 yards. Well done. But yeah, the benching for Ridder, that's Minshew. That's the sad thing, is Minshew is top 35 QB in the league. He's in that sort of frisky, sort of like 25 to 35 range where sometimes he looks startable, sometimes he looks absolutely dire, as that's not the news we wanted. The line to release news about Smith, but it's not the one we want.
Chris Smith released.
Yeah, same with Bo Plan.
Yeah, expected.
So they'll go back. Sorry, because I saw the Lions news. I was like, oh, here we go. But yeah, well done to the Bengals for working out how to have an offense without T. Higgins on the field. Because I made that joke in the preview. And they worked it out, much to my chagrin, because I benched Chase Brown. And now I'm kicking myself. And well done to Mike Gesicki as well. 100 yards. Finally looking like the Gesicki we used to know back in Miami. Prayers up for Eric Kelly, who's obviously tore his ACL. Pretty unfortunate. But yeah, well done to the Bengals. You're grinding it back out, 4-5. You keep getting hot. Higgins comes back. There might be enough there to make you frisky in that AFC North, be a wildcard team, and then who knows what can happen from there. You just got to play it right.
Next game up is the team that we've mentioned earlier, Chargers at the Browns, and the Chargers blow the Browns away 27-10.
Yeah, we were just saying about the Chargers, like Jesse Minter, arguably, if Ben Johnson didn't exist and maybe Brian Flores, he'd be the assistant coach of the year. Like, what he has done with that Chargers defense has been amazing. And just look at the place that he used to be to see the impact that him leaving's had. Herbert is still finding that thing. He's still coming back to the Herbert we know and love. They're really good. The Browns, welcome to the Winston experiment. Last week you had the good Winston. This week you have pre-LASIK Jameis Winston. Also, Nick Chubb, love you, buddy. I think that injury was one too many for you. 2.6 yards on the ground. it might be time for the Browns to start looking for a new running back, unfortunately.
Or
But
no, you've got to give him a year with the injury he's suffered to get back healthy, and let's see what happens next year. I think
maybe.
it's a lost season for them. Let's just not write off the guy right now.
True. But well done to also Jerry Judy and Cedric Tillman. Cedric Tillman out of Tennessee. I liked him. Nice to see him kind of come to the fore now. This is back-to-back good games for him. Hopefully they can build on it because he's a damn good receiver. And you remember the good old days where they had DPJ, Jarvis Landry, Odell. Great passing attack, though some players weren't happy with it. They could get back to that. They've got Tillman, Judy in the slot, and then if someone can set up like Elijah Moore, but Joki's a good tight end, Atkins is good. They've got enough there to make it a workable offense.
Next game up is the Patriots at the Titans. Patriots needing a game-tying drive late, managed to score with the final play of the game, kicked the extra point to go ahead and end up losing to a field goal in overtime against the Titans team, starting Mason Rudolph again, and he had a relatively good game.
Yeah, Rudolph had a good game. Pollard had a great game. Thank God he didn't do that against us last week. Ridley continued his sort of re-emergence. He's looking back more like the Calvin Ridley we know and love. But on the other side, told you so about Drake May. There's a reason why I had him QB1, and it looked like it. It's not just through the air, nearly 100 yards on the ground as well. Admittedly, propped up by a 26-yard longest, but there is a viable QB in there. Please get in them offensive line and some fucking weapons because you spread it around quite well, but 7 catches for Hunter Henry, 7 catches for Demario Douglas, 5 for Ramondre Stevenson, 1 catch for 1 yard for Jaheim Bell. Well, like using him, he doesn't have someone to go to. Like the one player who could have been that, Jalen Polk, 1 target, which he didn't catch. Get him a viable offense. And with that defense, it's good enough still. It's not going to ever be the way we used to know it, but get a decent offense. You could be in a contender next year, but you need to get him protection and you need to get him a number 1 target because he doesn't have that right now. And if you get that, everyone else falls back a step to Bourne becomes a wide receiver 2. Polk becomes wide receiver 3. You've got workable stuff there, but yeah, it's just sad that the Honolulu Blue Flu kind of lost this week, though I argue because the starters didn't play the whole game doesn't count. We still got to see Packers on a bye next week, so we've got to see after that then, I guess. Knowing us probably will play the Texans next week and then they'll be on a bye.
Next game is Commanders 27, Giants 22. Commanders looked like they could throw this one away after the Giants made a big comeback late, but Daniels, clearly banged up and struggling with those ribs, just about does enough to get the Commanders over the line. They led 21-7 at the half, but the Giants outscored the Commanders 15-6 in the second half.
Yeah, Tyron Tracy, great pick by the Giants, even though, fun fact, somehow he is older than Javonte Williams, has been in the league who's been in the league for 4 years, and yet he already has the same amount of 100-yard games that Javonte Williams does. But yeah, Giants have found a way on the back of Tracy, take the load off Jones, and then he can sort of hit the big plays to Neighbors. Admittedly, doesn't have the sort of explosive numbers he's had before, so averaging nearly 7 yards a catch ain't exactly what we used to, but everyone else has kind of stepped up a bit. Theo Johnson getting it done with the touchdown. Darius Slayton still being a decentish receiver. Wandale Robinson dropping off a cliff, 3.3 yards a catch, buddy. Jesus Christ. And on the other side, McLaurin held to 19 yards, yet you win. That's pretty damn good. Noah Brown stepping up with the 60 yards. Chris Rodriguez, that's a name I haven't heard in a while, but him stepping up for their running game because Eckler wasn't getting it done. Nichols was subbing in. Daniels was hurt, yet still he manages to convert a few first downs with his feet. It's a good all-round performance from them. Like, no one predicts it coming to the season, but they're clearly the best team in that division. And that's kind of scary because the Cowboys are supposed to be good with all their talent. The Eagles are supposed to be good, yet the Commanders are the ones looking great.
And yet it's only going to be one Commander's loss, and the Eagles are going to be level on record with them. So even though the Eagles have not looked great, they've started to turn it on a little bit. They're doing enough where I'm starting to worry about the Eagles a little bit, because the problem was coaching there. It was never personnel, and the coaching started to figure it out, but it's just taken them ages. We'll come on to them later. Next up is the most surprising game of the week. Saints at Panthers, and the Saints are the choke master generals, and Dennis Allen has fallen. Panthers win for only the second win of the season, 23-22. Ash, what a fuck up.
Yeah.
And Kamara went for 155 on the ground.
Literally stole the words out of my mouth. Literally stole the words out of my mouth. How? Well, not only that, 60 yards through the fucking air. He has over 200 yards, and you still fucking lose the game to the Panthers, who were shit in their bed like FSU are. I would fucking know. Kamara is responsible for, literally, I'm looking now, the Commanders, the New Orleans car passed for 236 yards. So Kamari by himself basically took up half your offensive production, which is perhaps why you lost, because that's not sustainable. But just how? You have a great defense. That's what I was betting on you here. I was like, okay, yeah, you don't have the Olave went down earlier. I was like, oh, I still got Kamara. We've got good defense. So do what they need to do. How? Yeah. Just how? Like,
how is all that needs to be said. I think I got that game. It's just insane.
Yeah.
Insane. Next up is Ravens Broncos, and the league's best defense, I think, by DVOA all the way through the season to last week, concede 41 to the Ravens in a 41-10 victory. Lamar Jackson, 16 of 19 for 280 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's almost, it's 18 yards per catch. It's just ridiculous numbers, and King Henry gets 106 yards and 2 on the ground as well. Zay Flowers is right up there with the best wide receivers in the NFL right now too. That offense is firing.
Yeah, I said it last year, Zay Flowers, I know he had the size against him. Me saying this and realizing basically what you were saying about Ladvacon this year, I was saying about Zay Flowers last year, so maybe I shouldn't have been as harsh. But Zay Flowers is fucking great. Just a great guy, like great breakup for him overall. Like he was showing it last year, this year, showing it. He is basically their entire passing game right now, because the next leading receiver was a running back. Then it's Nelson Aguilar. Then it's a running back again. Then it's Mark Andrews. Then it's Rashad Bateman. Then it's the fullback who got the touchdown. I know they just traded for Jonty Johnson. He'll help give them another target. But yeah, Zay Flowers been your entire passing game, pretty much. It's great for him. Not so good when he's getting game planned. Also, like, why did you let them do the Philly and score on it? Like, come on, you could have let the Lions still have the only non-quarterback touchdown throwers in the league, but no, you had to go and concede that to Bo Nix, you absolute bastards. But yeah, Ravens just getting it done. Denver still look frisky, but they're for parts. Just don't have the talent right now to compete with the Ravens. It's kind of like us last year, except for they actually managed to score. We didn't. But well done to the Broncos. This was what I'm saying. I can see them upsetting KC next week, because they were, for the most part, they were in this game with the Ravens. The scoreline for me doesn't reflect how the game was. Like, the Broncos looked good. Maybe they can shock KC next week.
We shall see. Next game up, Jags at Eagles, and the Eagles were up 16-0 at half-time, but end up only winning 28-23. Absolutely mad game in which both teams tried to shoot themselves in the foot multiple times. Hurts ends up 18-24 for 230 and 2 touchdowns, and Saquon Barkley maybe has the play of the decade, Ash.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, that reverse hurdle, just I'm literally it's on the side of like my little ESPN thing right now. I'm just watching it over and over because it's absolutely beautiful. Just great. Yeah, like the Eagles are coming back. It's worrying in a way for us. Like the only good news in a way, obviously we don't wish injuries on players, but that AJ Brown injury supposedly might keep him out a couple of games, which will hurt their offense. Because Devon Smith, great game. Obviously that catch, unfortunately got overshadowed by what Saquon did and also Garrett Wilson's earlier in the week. But that was a great catch as well. They're finally working out on offense again, and then that defense has still got players like Zach Bourne. Again, that's a wonder. If he wasn't on the Eagles and the Eagles weren't where they were, someone I'm looking at for that sort of Sam role because he used to be a pass rusher in college. I'm happy because Reek Blankenship's still looking great for them. He's looking a lot better than CJGJ did. They've got pieces there. They could be there. And obviously, I know they fumble. Saquon lost a fumble. Keely Ringo gets one back. Great play by Trayvon Walker on that fumble thing, by the way. That was a great touchdown from him. But yeah, just Jags, I don't know. Lawrence isn't Clemson Lawrence. He's not the Lawrence that I know and hate because obviously he's been Clemson, but he's got the talent there and they've hitched their wagon. Brian Thomas, obviously he's hurting with that the injury. And then the run game was just stuffed up when your two lead backs have 9 carries and they don't even break 50 yards. Yeah, overall you have 60 yards rushing. That's just allowing them to tee off on your passing game, which leads to interceptions and that. They need to find that running game again because without it, they've got nothing because teams will just pin their ears back against their weakened offensive line since they traded away Cam Robinson. It's not a recipe for success right now.
No. Yeah, so next game up is Bears at Cardinals. Cardinals win 29-9. Bears only scored in the second quarter. This just wasn't a contest, and Caleb Williams low-key looks bad.
Yep. How the fuck are you letting Cardinals break records that they haven't broken since 1930? It's the first time the Cardinals have had 3 players rush for touchdowns since 1930, when they were led by a player coach called Jim Thorpe. What are you doing? And then I know obviously it was happened in and around our game, but how are you giving Trey McBride a rushing touchdown as well? Like, I know we gave up the first down with the tight end sneak, but just what the hell, Bears? Kind of indicated my take with Drake May here a bit with how bad Williams is looking. DeAndre Swift is DeAndre Swift. You don't even need to speak about that. And then the only good thing about this game, really, is that Adunze finally kind of broke out a bit. 20.8 yards a catch, broke 100 yards. Hopefully he'll get a few more looks, since DJ Moore decided halfway through a scramble drill to go, you know what, I'm hurt. Fuck this. I'm just going to go sit down, set to go for the rest of the play with 10 players. That, and then Keenan Allen, I wish I still had the clips. I could go back to it, but I kind of predicted his fall off. He hasn't exactly been competent this season. He's not been the wide receiver 1-2 they need him to be. He's been more like a 3. That's going to hurt them. There's just, I don't know. The offense just ain't it. And then the defense, because they keep getting those positions, ain't it either. Like, it's bad when they had to bench Tyreek Stevenson, and then it was so bad they had to quickly go like, okay, yeah, quick, back on. We're kind of in trouble here. Come save us. And he couldn't do anything.
2 more games to go, both in the late slate. Rams at Seahawks, and the Rams get away with one just a little bit. Seahawks fail on a 4th and 1 in the red zone after just a bit of a mad one. Plenty of picks in this game. Smith and Jigba has 180 yards through the air. Matthew Stafford has an awful day against the blitz. I think I heard a stat that said he was 2 of 15 under pressure, which is like, that's not the Matthew Stafford we know. But they pull it out.
Yeah. Gino, for the most part, after that, his interceptions was dealing, though Cam Kinchin's have yourself a day. As much as I hate to appraise someone from Miami, well done. Braden Fisk Jam versus look good, as I predicted. My FSU boys are still doing good for them. But yeah, just it wasn't there today through the air, really. Doesn't help that Puka decides to throw a punch and get himself ejected. Really doesn't help. Cup's back to his usual, but yeah, I'm just looking now, and yeah, under pressure, 3 of 15 attempts for staff with 1 interception. Just that ain't going to be it. And that's the thing, you're going to be under pressure when your offensive line's that dinged up. There's not much you could do. But yeah, defense for them had a good day. Kyron Williams broke out. Seattle's nearly snuck it in. It's just scary. It's worrying because, again, if they can work some stuff out, that's a bogey team for us. I know we obviously broke it this year, but if they have to come here in the playoffs, we'll still be favoured, but it is a bit shaky because they have our number for the most part. And who knows? Jacob Bobo might finally catch his one target and score on us, the former Lions preseason wonder.
All right, final game. Colts at Vikings, 21-13 victors the Vikings. Colts led 7-0 at the half. Darnold had a terrible day, but the Vikings did enough to win. Jefferson over 130 yards. Struggled to get it going on the ground, the Vikings, but Colts were equally terrible.
Well, that was, you know what, when you're benching your first round pick, thinking that Joe Flacco's going to give you much hope, and then he goes and does this. Really not a good look for your Colts. Like, Taylor looked okay, Josh Downs looked okay, but it just wasn't it for the passing attack. And then the defense did enough where, yeah, Darnold threw 2 picks. They had to go tricky themselves and get Justin Jefferson throwing the ball, which kind of worked. Which is cool. But yeah, it's just the Justin Jefferson show for the Vikings right now. Like, Addison's doing okay, I guess, but they just need someone else to step up because otherwise, yeah, you've been held close to a Colts team that's not exactly great. What happens if, when you face Green Bay in a couple of weeks or you face us again, you're going to need another counterpunch. So yeah, while I still have faith in that defense, managed to keep Flacco to like 6.6 yards per catch, sacked him 3 times, held him in check. They need the offense to step up because otherwise, there's going to be times where stuff like this happens where they just get tired out. And that's the thing. Minnesota didn't even score for the first half. So the Colts winning at halftime leading.
Yeah, and it was 14-10 in favour of the Vikings with the Vikings driving with 2 minutes to go. So if the Vikings end up getting stopped there for a field goal, the Colts are driving to tie the game in a 2-minute drill. It's just rough for the Vikings. They need to pick this up. Anyway, that is the slate. We had a question from Adam about what head coaches we think will be fired. Do you have any thoughts?
Well, let's go for the obvious one. Doug Peterson. He is going to find his P45 at the end of the season for sure. I would say Eberflus as well.
Yeah.
Just hasn't exactly gone great for them.
It's just the vibes are off.
Yeah, the vibes are definitely off. Does Dave Canales be one and done?
No, I don't think so. Everyone knew that was a bad situation.
Yeah. Does Kevin Stefanski go from winning Coach of the Year unfairly when it should have been Dan to in the Dole queue?
I don't think Stefanski goes either. I think it's fairly public that the decision on Deshaun Watson came from above him. And the fact that it's not worked out is not his fault. But the problem is, if he gets kept on for next year, how do the Browns get better? If I'm Stefanski, I almost want to get fired.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. So let's go for the obvious ones then. So Peterson, Mike McCarthy.
Yeah.
I
think there's a risk that Miami sack their guy.
McDaniels.
McDaniels.
McDaniel, yeah. Could. the Colts clean house entirely. I know that it's going around recently in the past week that Ballard is looking more and more likely to go in his way. Could they just clean house and get rid of Steichen as well?
I don't think Steichen goes. I think the GM goes. So I think with Steichen, they've looked kind of low-key bad, but they're still near 500 in a division that, isn't great. And I think that's kind of enough to keep him on with a new GM. But it's going to be the GM's choice when the GM gets hired. So it'll be interesting to see.
That's my thing, yeah.
What about the Raiders, Antonio Pierce? I think that would be unfair as well, but the vibes are also off there.
Yeah, very much off. But this is the Raiders we're talking about. They're not exactly great head coach hirers. Just look at their record the past decade in head coaches. Dennis Allen in his first go, Jack Del Rio, John Gruden, Antonio Pierce.
Yeah. Okay, so the person I think is most likely to be one and done is Gerard Mayo. So you're talking about a owner who wants success right now, and he came out criticizing his team and didn't keep things in-house. The one great thing about Bill Belichick is that you never got anything from him. It was like blood from a stone, and that meant no dirty laundry was being aired. Mayo's bringing it, and he's blaming his team, and I don't know whether that's going to be taken well by Kraft.
True. I can see it. Kraft almost being like, okay, I can see it's kind of like a reset season. We'll give you this one. It'll be next year that Mayo will be judged on. But yeah, if that happens, I wouldn't be too surprised. But Mayo's he's on the sort of simmer. He's not on the hot seat exactly. He's kind of quietly bubbling there. Like if the pasta pot overflows, I won't be too shocked. But yeah, right now it's just quietly simmering.
All right, I think that is that. So I think we're going to call it a show because we've been going a while, and I'm live tomorrow as well. So, without wanting to annoy the girlfriend too much, our next show is going to be, as I say, tomorrow, covering the trade deadline. The college football podcast will be back as well, maybe Wednesday, but keep your eyes peeled for that. Texans preview on Thursday, so we're having plenty of shows this week. It's going to be absolutely great for you guys if you're enjoying what you're listening to. Please do find us on Royal the Lines UK on our socials, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And there's a Facebook group too. It's not ours, but we're a part of it. Detroit Lions fans, UK One Pride Worldwide. Lots of people from there go to the games. If you want some good views of what's going on there, do check it out. And Ash's articles are on the website as well, ROTLUK.com. There's also an article from me about why the Lions might not be able to make a trade or might not want to make a trade, so do go and check that out too. Just remains for me to thank Ash for breaking down this show with me, and to all of you for listening. We'll see you tomorrow. Let's go, Lions. One Pride.
One Pride, and fuck the Packers.
Recording stopped.
We did have a late question or two. One was from Carlton Wood saying, Ash, as a player yourself, do you carry out current NFL touchdown celebrations on request?
I wish. I'm a blitzer, so I don't get to do many chances for it because, ironically, the way I've just described James Houston earlier, that's how blitzing goes in flag. You look like a full 95% of the time, and the other 5% of the time, you can't do too much because there's all these weird rules. Like you can't even just throw a flag down anymore. It's weird. So yes, unfortunately, I will not be doing the headstand celebration because I will probably fall over and break my neck, and that's not good.
No, it is not. And the last one was from Grandizer, who said, top 3 or 5 players that the Lions should trade for tomorrow, are they the same or different? I get so stuck with trading for players because when you're looking at it, Baron Browning would have never crossed my mind, but I really like the player and I would love for us to have traded for him. So like when it comes to little players like that, it's really hard to pick out someone.
Yeah.
I don't want Aziz Ojolari, but it's better than not trading for anyone. So if that is what it is, fine, so be it.
For me, everyone knows my top one. I keep saying him, and it's the most likely one. I agree with this because I'm looking more for like Aziz, Baron Browning. They're more Sams in my mind. That role's already taken up. I'm looking for D-line player, like people, the hands in the dirt kind of guy. So it's Zadarius Smith. It's okay. I know he's not lived up to his first overall heritage, but he's a decent pass rusher against the run, and he can rush the passer. Jadeveon Clowney, he might be available. I'm struggling for the third. I'm trying to think.
Ogba.
Ogba, yeah. Or the Patriots player, Dietrich Wise.
Yeah.
Just someone like that. Just someone just helping the run game and basically be like a can crusher for whoever's playing the other side. Just get pressure and then hopefully that help Aleem and Reader clean up, because it seems like they're the focal points of our pass rush plan now, is get pressure up the middle.
All right. We're going to call it a show. Guys, we'll see you soon. Cheers. Bye for now.